Hey there, welcome back to the channel. If you've ever stepped back emotionally from a woman you were once interested in and suddenly noticed her acting different, you're not imagining things. Today's video dives into one of the most intriguing shifts in modern dating. What happens when a woman realizes you've lost interest? We often hear that women are more intuitive, more emotionally attuned, and in many cases, that's true. Women don't just listen to what you say, they sense what you feel. And when that energy changes, when your attention fades, something powerful happens. It disrupts the emotional dynamic, and for many women, that moment sparks a psychological response they may not even be fully aware of. In this video, we will break down the subtle and not so subtle ways women react when they feel you slipping away. From silent observation to sudden friendliness, from emotional outbursts to unexpected texts, each reaction has a deeper meaning rooted in psychology and human connection. So stick around until the end, because understanding these shifts can help you navigate your relationships with clarity, confidence, and emotional balance. Let's get into it. 1. She acts unbothered, but observes closely. At first glance, she seems unfazed. Her tone is light, and her words are casual, as if your absence barely registers. She posts effortlessly, smiles often, and speaks like nothing has changed. But beneath that calm exterior, something more complex is unfolding. Her silence isn't apathy, it's strategy. It's attention hidden behind nonchalance. She may not reach out directly, she won't ask how you're doing or what you've been up to, but she's watching, carefully, quietly. Your social media becomes her silent source of updates, a photo here, a new name there, and each detail becomes a data point feeding a curiosity she won't admit out loud. She checks stories not out of interest in your day, but in search of something unspoken. Is he really over it, or just pretending like I am? Mutual friends start hearing her questions dressed up as jokes or casual comments. I saw he's been going out more lately. I wonder if he's seeing someone. She's gathering clues to piece together a picture of your life without her. It's not because she wants control. It's because she's realizing what's no longer hers, and that recognition stings more than she expected. This behavior isn't just emotional, it's deeply psychological. A perceived loss often triggers the instinct to reevaluate. What she once took for granted now feels distant, and that distance sharpens the memory of what used to be close. She begins to question her choices, not because she misses you in a moment of weakness, but because your silence has created space for reflection. When someone who once gave you access now offers only mystery, the mind fills in the blanks. And in that unknown, her curiosity grows. It's no longer just about you. It's about what your absence reveals about her. The longer you stay distant, the more she watches. Not to reconnect, but to understand. Not to chase, but to measure the emotional echo you've left behind. There's a quiet truth. Those who act unbothered often care the most. They've just learned how to hide it, and while she may never say the words, she's already in conversation with your silence, watching, waiting, wondering if what she's seeing is real or just a reflection of what she's lost. 2. She attempts to elicit jealousy. It doesn't always come in words. Sometimes her message is hidden in a photo, a story, or a casual mention of someone new. It's subtle at first. An arm in the corner of a picture of a night out that seems deliberately staged. An update designed to share and be seen. And that's the point. She wants you to see it. After a breakup or a shift in the emotional balance, Some women don't seek closure, they seek confirmation. Not confirmation that you've moved on, but that you still care, that she still matters, that she still holds space in your thoughts. One of the easiest ways to test this is to spark jealousy. If you react, if you reach out or question it, she knows she's still in control. It's not always intentional initially, but once she sees it gets a response, it becomes a tool. Jealousy isn't about love. It's about leverage. It's a strategy, a way to gauge your emotional investment without having to ask directly. She might post something that seems innocent to everyone else, but she knows exactly how it will land with you. It's the digital equivalent of glancing over her shoulder to ensure you're still watching. But the truth is this: your silence in these moments is stronger than any comeback. When you don't react, when you don't question, and when you don't flinch, you send a clear message. Your peace doesn't belong to her anymore. You've reclaimed it. There's a quiet strength in non-reaction. It shows that your value isn't defined by who she's with or what she shares. It tells her that your world is no longer centered around what she chooses to display. And that shift unsettles her more than any words could. As the old saying goes, the moment you stop responding is when she starts reflecting. Because what she's trying to provoke is not about who she's with. It's about whether or not she still has emotional power over you. And when that power fades, the game ends. Not because she gave up, but because you stopped playing. 3. She initiates casual contact. It doesn't always start with a long message or a grand apology. Sometimes a simple "Hey" or "How have you been?" appears on your screen without warning. At first glance it seems casual, almost meaningless, like someone passing by and waving from across the street. But in emotional psychology, there's rarely anything casual about an unexpected message from someone who once meant something to you. This kind of contact is not about the words, but the silence that came before them. When she reaches out like this, it's usually not because she has something important to say. She wants to know if you're still available and emotionally reachable. It's a test disguised as small talk, a breadcrumb to see if you'll follow. What she's trying to feel out is your current state of detachment. Has your attention moved on? Are you still orbiting around her in quiet hope? Or have you stepped out of that gravitational pull entirely? Women often know that re-engaging you requires little effort, only the right tone at the right moment. If you respond quickly or emotionally, it signals that the door she once closed may still be slightly open. But here's where your power lies. Your response, or lack of it, reveals everything about your emotional position. If you reply with a neutral tone or don't engage, you send a quiet message. You're no longer waiting. You're not bitter, but you're not available either. And that creates a different kind of attraction, not the desperate pull of someone who wants her back, but the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needs closure. There's wisdom in the saying, sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. You shift the dynamic entirely when you respond with strength, not sentiment. She may feel the distance she didn't expect. The emotional leverage she once had no longer holds the same weight. While she may have reached out looking for reassurance, what she finds instead is reflection. A reminder that once a man no longer needs her validation, her interest becomes less about comfort and more about curiosity. 4. She becomes overly friendly and nice. When you think the tension has finally settled and the distance has created clarity, she reappears, but not with frustration or cold silence. This time, it's warmth, it's softness. Her tone is lighter, her smile is more frequent, and her attention is almost comforting. She remembers your favorite stories, listens more carefully, and seems unusually at ease. But underneath this sudden sweetness is something more complex. Kindness becomes the next move when past tactics no longer work. Emotional withdrawal, silence, or confrontation fail to pull you back in. This shift isn't always conscious, but it's often strategic. When a woman senses losing her emotional group, she may lean into a charm to re-establish control, not out of genuine change. The warmth isn't false, but it serves a purpose: to reopen the connection on her terms and subtly guide the dynamic back to where she feels secure and in control. She's not trying to rebuild what was lost. She's trying to reset the balance of power. Men who don't recognize this shift often mistake it for reconciliation. They think she's softened because she's missed them or realized their value, and maybe part of that is genuine. But, indeed, people often seek familiarity when uncertainty creeps in, and for her, being overly friendly isn't just a peace offering, it's a test. Will you respond like you used to? Will you fall into the rhythm she knows so well? This is where emotional discipline matters. You break the cycle when you stay steady and don't get swept back into the emotional highs her kindness once triggered. You create space for real intention to show itself. You don't punish her for being nice, but don't reward it blindly. You watch, you measure, you respond, not react. There's wisdom in remembering this. Not all sweetness is sincerity, and not every soft tone is an open heart. Some are doorways back into old patterns, dressed in a more palatable form. And unless you're grounded in your sense of self, it's easy to mistake charm for change and warmth for willingness. True transformation doesn't need to manipulate emotions to prove itself. It doesn't appear only when other approaches fail. So when her sudden friendliness catches you off guard, see it clearly for what it may be. Not just a kind gesture, but a carefully timed move in a quiet game of emotional leverage. 5. She tries to make you jealous again. There's a specific look in her eyes when she's not over you but refuses to say it. Instead of reaching out honestly, she reaches out with strategy. Often the tactic she chooses is jealousy, not the obvious kind, but the kind designed to get under your skin while looking like a coincidence. A new man suddenly shows up in her stories. She starts highlighting moments where she's surrounded by male attention, laughter in the background, new names tagged, constant reminders that she's being seen and wanted. But none of it is organic, it's intentional. What she's doing is testing your emotional boundaries. She wants to know if she still matters, if your silence is absolute, or if you're just waiting. Her goal isn't the man beside her, it's the reaction she hopes to get from you. And when that reaction doesn't come, when she's met with calm indifference instead of emotional pullback, the game's power begins to dissolve. Because jealousy only works when you are on her terms, when you lean in when she steps out. But when you stay grounded and the focus stays on your path, the need for attention turns inward. The performance starts to feel hollow. She may double down, post more, smile harder, or try to seem effortlessly happy, but deep down, she knows you're not playing the game anymore. That's when the dynamic shifts. Your indifference is no longer passive. It becomes a statement not of anger or pride, but of peace. It says you no longer need to be pulled by emotion that doesn't serve you. And that realization weakens the hold she thought she had. There's a saying worth remembering here: control is lost the moment the audience stops reacting. And when she stops getting the response she's looking for, the show loses its meaning. 6. She reaches out with random excuses. It doesn't always look like a grand gesture. Sometimes it's a short text out of nowhere asking about a song you once shared, or a random question about something she could have easily Googled. At first glance it seems harmless, casual, and even thoughtful, but underneath that small message is something more significant. A quiet check-in, not with facts, but with feelings. She's not asking about the restaurant's name or whether you remember the movie you once watched together. What she's doing is testing the waters. She wants to know if the door is still open, even just a little. These small excuses are feelers, subtle ways of seeing how you'll respond without risking too much of yourself. If you answer quickly, warmly, or curiously, it sends her a signal that the connection still has life. If your reply is neutral, grounded, and without emotional charge, she learns something else entirely, that the bond may no longer carry the same weight for you. These moments are rarely accidental. Even the most mundane questions carry emotional subtext. A text that says, "Do you still have that book I lent you?" might mean, "Are you still holding on to a part of me?" When she brings up shared memories, she reactivates emotional familiarity. It's a soft re-entry into your space to see if she can still access it. But here's where your strength matters. Responding with calm, steady neutrality doesn't mean being cold. It means you're no longer emotionally available for the same dynamic. It shows emotional autonomy, a sense of self that doesn't bend or rush to the comfort of nostalgia. And that neutrality is powerful. It tells her you're not holding resentment, but you're also not holding space for something that has already passed. There's a quiet discipline in not confusing contact with connection. One message doesn't mean she's ready to rebuild. One reply doesn't mean you're waiting. Not every knock must be answered with a wide-open door. Sometimes it just needs a nod from the window to show you're at peace, but not inviting anything back in. And the truth is, she'll feel the difference. While she may have reached out for something small, what she's seeking is something more significant. Proof of presence, validation of impact, or maybe even a doorway to return. But when the man she once knew replies not with longing but with clarity, it sends a quiet message. The chapter is closed, and you're no longer reading from the same page. 7. She becomes emotionally reactive. There's often a point in unraveling a connection when her tone changes, not gradually but suddenly. It doesn't begin with a soft question or a warm attempt to understand. It erupts. She sends long messages at odd hours, accusing you of changing, questioning your silence, challenging your integrity, or asking why you're so distant now when you used to care so deeply. The words come fast and sharp, filled with heat rather than clarity. For a moment it may feel like she's angry beyond reason, but looking closely you will see that this isn't just anger, it's fear wrapped in frustration. It's her last attempt to grasp something she feels is slipping away. Emotional reactivity is often misunderstood. It's easy to label it as immaturity or manipulation, but at its core, these outbursts are usually driven by a need to be seen and a desperation to pull you back into a space where she once felt emotionally secure. When a woman senses that her emotional energy is no longer available, she sometimes tries to recreate intensity, not because she enjoys chaos, but because she confuses intensity with connection. And if she can provoke you, she believes she can reattach to the part of you that has gone quiet. This is where many men get pulled back in. The instinct is to fix things and explain yourself to calm her and restore peace. You might tell yourself that if you don't respond it will worsen things, or that silence is disrespectful. But the truth is this: every emotional reaction you give her in this moment becomes confirmation that she still has power over your emotional world. Whether it's through guilt, frustration, or pity, if you're pulled back in, you've given her exactly what she was looking for: engagement. The real strength lies not in reacting, but in remaining still. This doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It means choosing your peace over her pressure. It means understanding that her storm doesn't need to become yours. When you stay calm and respond with silence or briefly grounded clarity instead of defending yourself, she has to sit with the echo of her own words, and that silence forces reflection on what was said, why it was said, and how little control she has over you now. Something is compelling about a man who refuses to be emotionally hijacked, a man who can hear the chaos, feel its pull, and still choose not to respond. That choice isn't about winning, it's about preserving the dignity of his own emotional space. It sends a clear message: I will not be baited into a drama that doesn't honor who I am or who I'm becoming. There's a truth here that many overlook. When you stop dancing to the rhythm of someone else's emotional chaos, they either learn a new tune or leave the floor. That lesson may sting, but it's one of the few that leads to growth on both sides. So when she becomes emotionally reactive, her words come heavy with blame or desperation, and she doesn't remember what's happening. It's not just about you being distant, it's about her fear of losing influence. And when you refuse to give her that control back, when you stand firm in clarity, you don't just protect your peace, you remind her that real strength isn't loud, it's unwavering. Conclusion: embrace detachment and self-respect. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, it often disrupts the emotional dynamic she once felt confident in. While her reactions may range from subtle curiosity to overt attempts at regaining control, each behavior reveals one truth: your emotional distance has shifted the balance of power. This is not about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about choosing self-respect over reactivity, peace over validation. Her efforts to provoke jealousy, initiate casual contact, or stir emotional responses are not signs of strength. They're signs that your detachment is being felt profoundly, and while she may act unbothered on the surface, her closer observation and reactive behaviors often speak louder than words. By remaining composed, calm, and centered, you reaffirm your value not through noise, but through presence, or the lack thereof. Detachment isn't indifference, choosing to focus your energy where it's respected and reciprocated. So as you move forward, remember this: your silence, peace, and emotional clarity are often more powerful than any message you could send. Stay grounded in your worth, continue growing, and don't lose yourself trying to be understood by someone who only values you when you're slipping away. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you experienced these reactions before? What helped you stay centered and in control? Share your stories in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful insights into relationships, emotional mastery, and personal growth. See you in the next one.